Behold the handmaid of the Lord.
Be it done to me according to your word.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of death. Amen.
And the Word was made flesh,
And dwelt amongst us.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of death. Amen.
Pray for us, O Holy Mother of God.
That we may be made worthy of the promises of Christ. Pour forth, we beseech you, O Lord, your grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ, your Son, was made known by the message of an angel, may by his passion and cross be brought to the glory of his resurrection, through the same Christ our Lord. Amen.
Per hour. Pag-asa says the super typhoon may become almost stationary by tonight. Henry is expected to accelerate northward by Saturday and exit the country's weather monitoring area Saturday evening or Sunday morning. Storm signal number 1 up in Batanes and the northeastern portion of Babuyan Islands. These areas should expect strong winds within the next 36 hours. Tonight, Batanes will also have moderate to heavy rains. Babuyan Islands will see light to moderate with at times heavy rains. Henry is also expected to enhance the southwest monsoon, bringing rains over the western section of Luzon beginning tomorrow. Earlier this morning, Tropical Depression Gardo weakened into a low-pressure area and merged into Super Typhoon Henry's circulation. So how is Super Typhoon Henry affecting the coastal areas in northern Luzon? Stanley Gaheta checks on towns in Cagayan.
The weather situation here was seemed to be normal earlier today, but large ocean waves are suddenly appearing, stopping residents and fisher folk from conducting activities with Super Typhoon Henry now within the weather monitoring area. Their livelihood now in peril, as the cloudy weather prevents drying of shrimps and fish, which are Aparis major commodities.
Mahirap, sir. Kasi pag may bagyo po, hindi na sila nakakalaot, sir. Pag wala na lang mahuli dyan, sir, pag may bagyo. Yung mga iba, sir, uutang ng pagkain, tapos babayaran pag may hanap buhay.
Hindi na kami nakapapalaot kasi pinagbawalan na kami.
So anong pinagkakabuhayan mo ngayon pag hindi ka nangingisda?
Wala na, sir. Construction na, sir.
Cagayan Province is under red alert along with Batanes based on the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Council's warning. 16 barangays in Apari are in coastal areas with more than 500 families affected whenever a typhoon batters northern Luzon, causing floods in the town proper. Local officials are coordinating with various government agencies. Their Rescue 511 is on standby. Equipment and relief packs are prepositioned.
Yung fisher folks po natin, alam naman nila sa kung delikado na yung dagat. Hindi naman po sila pumapalaot. Pag ganito na, sir, binibisita po namin sila mismo sa coastal barangays po.
Meanwhile, Calayan, Cagayan suspended classes in the morning and government offices in the afternoon due to southwest monsoon causing moderate to rough sea waves.
Pabigla-bigla kasi yung attitude ng weather. So ayaw pa naman na matrap yung mga bata at saka yung mga teachers, pati yung mga government employees. So far, may nag-alternate, konting araw, makulimlim, may konting ulan. Pero yung hangin niya medyo may kalakasan. Huwag tayong pakumpiyansa, dahil yung bagyo malawak po yung yung radius niya, Kahit malayo po yun, hanggang 300 kilometers ay kayang apektuhan.
Despite the threat of Super Typhoon Henry, no major flight has been cancelled so far, particularly those bound for Basco, Batanes and Lawag City, according to Manila International Airport Authority. Meanwhile, officials are closely monitoring the situation here. In Apari, Cagayan, Stanley Gaete, CNN Philippines.
Thousands of households facing rotational water interruptions for a month. Beginning today until October 1st, Maynilad will cut water supply in parts of Metro Manila and nearby provinces. Maynilad explains this is, quote, to ensure that our reservoirs have enough stored water to supply customer needs during hours of peak demand, unquote. On your screens now is the list of affected cities and towns. Portions of these areas will have no water supply for at least 3 hours a day, others up to 16 hours. Maynila urges concerned customers to store enough water when supply is available. The concessionaire also says it will have water tankers on standby to deliver water to affected areas as needed. More agriculture officials in hot water as the Blue Ribbon Committee looks into an allegedly illegal importation order. Various issues crop up at another Senate probe. As Amor Santos tells us, a senator is challenging 3 officials to resign if they fail to deliver this year.
Hindi mag-resign ka kung hindi mo gusto implemento. Kulo mo. Sabi mo, palta na yan.
Senator Cynthia Villar berates the head of the Philippine Coconut Authority, retired General Benjamin Madrigal, over the Coco Levy Fund. The Budget Department confirms it has released only 755 million pesos, more than a year since the enabling law was passed. DBM Undersecretary Tina Canda says the agency has yet to receive any more funding requests when at least 5 billion pesos can be released every year. Madrigal explains it's up to the implementing agencies to make the request.
Eh di tawagan mo ng tawagan kung ayaw nilang mag-request, ikaw ang mag-follow up. Bakit ka mag-wash ng hand dyan? Eh ikaw ang head ng PCA. Kung hindi mo kayang gawin yan, di mag-resign ka.
I will, Madam Chair.
Villar is also calling for the resignation of the director in charge of providing machinery and equipment to farmers using the 5 billion peso allocation under the rice tariffication law. Villar wants PhilMec to dissolve an advisory council, saying it has been slowing things down.
We can obligate all the 5 billion that is allotted for 2022.
I-suspend mo tong committee na to, ha? Otherwise, i-demand ko kayo. That is against the law.
Senators also grilled the Bureau of Soils for delays in the procurement of composting facilities, despite getting over 1 billion pesos this year for the project.
Ni Kusing, hindi pa nabibili para sa composting facilities?
The procurement process is ongoing. We are completing all the necessary documents.
On top of these issues, the Senate is still investigating the botched order to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar. Senators have questions for Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez, who has distanced the palace from the sugar order. But Blue Ribbon Chairman Francis Tolentino says Rodriguez may again have to skip the hearing next week, and he sees no problem with it.
Alam naman natin lahat na marami siyang gawain ngayon dahil ang presidente ay papunta sa Indonesia, pagkatapos po ay papunta sa Singapore, pagkatapos po ay papunta sa United Nations, at kung tutuusin, siya lahat yung gumagawa nito. At baka pag hindi siya kasama sa United Nations, eh baka maging caretaker pa siya sa Office of the President, sa Malacanang. So marami siyang gawain. So we consider that, but the invitation of the Senate still remains.
Tolentino says he can come up with a partial report even without answers from Rodriguez. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The Interior Department wants to make Cebu City a pilot site for making face masks optional outdoors despite the threat of COVID-19. Interior Secretary Benher Abalos, however, asked Cebu City Mayor Mike Rama to defer the implementation of his executive order that eases the mandate on wearing face masks. Rama was quoted in a radio interview as saying that he will implement the EO. Abalos says he will discuss the matter first with the Interagency Task Force on COVID-19. He adds local governments cannot have conflicting policies on pandemic response, especially since the national state of public health emergency is still in effect.
Hindi tayo pwede magkanya-kanya rito, no? I know he has good intentions, very good intentions at that. Pero I'm sure kung ipipresent ko naman sa IATF ito, baka payagan naman ipilot ang Cebu. Let's say magpilot ka ng ilang linggo at dito maas, yun na yun. It's a good template for everyone. Lahat makikinabang dito. But what is important right now ay sundin natin itong tamang proseso.
Following Cebu City's executive order, neighboring Mandaue City also plans to ease face mask rules, especially in open spaces. Last June, Cebu province lifted the face mask mandate in well-ventilated and open spaces. The Education Department has received no reports of students or staff catching COVID-19 since classes in public schools began 2 weeks ago. Spokesman Michael Poa says the school opening went smoothly, but noted the need to solve perennial problems like the lack of facilities. DepEd is expected to issue updated health protocols as schools transition to full capacity in-person classes by November. The Education Department is urging victims of alleged sexual harassment at the Bacoor National High School in Cavite to file complaint affidavits. Viral screenshots showed teachers messaging students supposedly with sexual motives. 7 teachers are under investigation, but the DepEd says almost no complainants have come forward.
Sana po tulungan niyo rin kami hikayatin yung mga alleged victims na lumabas po at mag-file ng kanilang affidavits para po mapalakas lalo yung kaso kung meron man.
The school's division office will submit a fact-finding report to DepEd tomorrow. Teachers may be dismissed if proven guilty. They could also face criminal cases. More stories ahead. Daily commute in Metro Manila should be easier as the Transportation Department launches an automated fare collection system. And President Bongbong Marcos vows to address the salary gap between government and private nurses. Keep it here on Newsnight.
MX3, dito ako bilib!
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
MX3, tunay, natural at orihinal.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Life's adventures are sometimes messy, but it's the kind of mess we love. Introducing the next-gen Ford Everest. Life is yours to master. Reserve now on Ford.com.ph or at your nearest Ford dealership.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. The Metro Manila Development Authority says the temporary suspension of the No Contact Apprehension Policy, or NCAP, is putting them in what it calls is a handicapped situation. MMDA Special Operations Chief Bong Nebriha says physical apprehension can be time-consuming and may lead to traffic buildup. Even if they are short-staffed, Nebriha says they will give their best efforts to ensure that traffic rules are always implemented.
Sa EDSA, sometimes swerte na kung may 100 ako per shift. 23.8 kilometers. Northbound, southbound. You need to be innovative how to deploy your enforcers with that number.
Nebriha also urges motorists to report traffic enforcers who attempt to extort money from them. The MMDA is now utilizing CCTV cameras to avoid cases of bribery, popularly referred to as kotong. It is full speed ahead for public transport drivers and commuters as regulators roll out a cashless payment option. An automated fare collection system was launched for modern jeepneys, buses, trains, and even tricycles. The pilot will run for 9 to 12 months among 150 modern jeepneys in 6 areas, including Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, and Metro Cebu. Select land bank prepaid and credit cards will be accepted in the first month.
Inaasahan po natin na pagkatapos po ng pilot na yan, ay uumpisahan na po natin yung mas malawakang deployment nitong pong ating EMV contactless system.
Land Bank, a partner of the Transportation Department, says there is enough supply of stored value cards, or SVCs. Authorities previously warned commuters of a looming shortage in beep cards because of global chip supply problems. Land Bank says it has issued 20 million chip cards used for both SVCs and bank cards. For its part, the DOTR is exploring ways to meet the increasing demand for SVCs as face-to-face classes resume.
Yung guhit-guhit.
On to another story. President Marcos has vowed to bridge the gap between the salaries of government and private nurses. The president led the centennial anniversary of the Philippine Nurses Association, where he recognized the hard work and sacrifice of health workers. He's also pushing for the passage of the Philippine Nursing Practice Act.
As your president, you may rest assured that my office is always open for meaningful dialogue to address the issues concerning our nurses and allied healthcare professionals.
The government has so far released 25 billion pesos worth of benefits to healthcare workers, but the president admits this is not enough. The Office of the Vice President defends the significant increase in its proposed budget for 2023, which includes a 500 million peso confidential fund. OVP spokesperson Reynold Munsayak says the amount will be allocated mostly for livelihood projects in rural areas. He adds the fund will be used within the parameters set by the Budget Department and the Commission on Audit. Munsayak also points out the OVP has established 7 satellite offices to reach more Filipinos. The OVP has proposed a 2.2 billion peso budget for next year, up by over 200% from this year's 702 million.
Siguro ho, nung nakarang administrasyon, meron silang certain projects at yung budget nila is sufficient na para doon. Kagaya ho ng sinabi namin, ngayon ho, ang gusto namin mas maabot namin yung marami nating kababayang Pilipino.
In other news, no more investment deal between media companies ABS-CBN and TV5. ABS-CBN will no longer buy a third of TV5 shares worth more than 2 billion pesos. The two networks also ended their convertible note agreement, which would raise ABS-CBN's stake in TV5 to nearly half 8 years from issuance, and Manny Pangilinan Signal Cable will discontinue its plan to acquire 39% of Sky Cable. The networks first announced the deal on August 11th, but they hit the pause button last week to address issues raised by lawmakers and the National Telecommunications Commission. These issues include the network's block time agreement and the alleged foreign ownership of TV5. Filipino workers in China are seeking assistance from the Philippine government as the East Asian country puts several cities under strict COVID-19 lockdowns. Tristan Odalo, who is in Beijing for a 3-month study grant, gives us a look.
A handful of confirmed COVID-19 cases can trigger more lockdowns in several areas in China as the country continues to implement its zero COVID-19 policy. In Sanya City, south of China, some are still under strict lockdown for almost a month now. Filipino workers James and Jennifer Montaño share their ordeal inside their dormitory.
Yung swab namin dito sa door-to-door po, kinakatok po kami. So 2 days ago lang na naging sa first floor na po ang swab namin. Pero yung mga nakaraan, dito sa kinakatok po kami sa, dito room by room po ang swab test.
Hindi po talaga kami nakakalabas.
Bawal pong lumabas. Wala kang makikita sa daan ng mga sasakyan. Kundi yung sa mga medical lang na sasakyan ngayon, ambulansya or yun lang po. Lockdown po talaga.
Working as entertainers in the famous tourist spot remains to be a challenge due to prevailing restrictions.
Pag walang trabaho kami, walang sahod. So before itong lockdown na to, 3 months din kami na lockdown, tapos nakapagtrabaho kami ng 1 month, tapos ito na naman.
Apart from Sanya, tech hub city Shenzhen, home to the world's largest electronic markets, is also under lockdown due to rising COVID-19 infections. According to the OFWs, the Chinese government provides assistance, including food and access to COVID-19 testing, to all those affected by lockdowns. These OFWs are hoping that the Philippine government will also be able to extend help.
Kailangan po talaga ng financial assistance.
Sabi nga po ng ibang Pilipino, kung hindi sila mabibigyan dito, kahit yung pamilya na lang nila sa Pilipinas, umaasa po talaga. Talagang kailangan po.
The Department of Foreign Affairs assures Filipinos in China that the government is ready to assist them. The DFA says so far most Filipinos in Shenzhen are not residing in the sub-districts placed under lockdown. The Chinese National Health Commission has detected 307 fresh cases of COVID-19 in the Chinese mainland on Thursday. Travel in and out of the capital Beijing has been discouraged and residents are urged to undergo COVID-19 testing on a daily basis. China maintains that despite potential economic impact, its zero COVID-19 policy can still save millions of lives. Now, whether or not this policy will stay in the long term, it will be up to an important leaders meeting in October. In Beijing, China, Tristan Nudalo, CNN Philippines.
Up next on Newsnight, the start of the Burr months is finally here. Watch how netizens are celebrating the unofficial start of the Yuletide season. Plus, the country's favorite caroler, Jose Mari Chan, has been immortalized with his very own Funko Pop. Founder of Funko Fanatic Philippines, Nico Lim, and JMC's daughter, Lisa Chan Parpan, will join us next. You're watching CNN Philippines.
There's always a way, even though the path is not clear. Next generation Ford Ranger. Do the undone. Reserve yours now on Ford.com.ph or at your nearest Ford dealer.
Fried chicken? Timplang happy! With easy-to-cook Magnolia Chicken Timplados. Iba't ibang sarap ng chicken, kaya. Anong Magnolia Chicken Timplados mo? Iba't ibang easy chicken sarap.
Red Horse Beer. Ito ang tama. Sarap ulitin ng lakas ng tama pero di wasak.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Welcome back. Tennis icon Serena Williams wins her second-round singles match in what could be the final tournament in her storied career. Serena upset world number 2 Anett Kontaveit to advance to the third round of the U.S. Open. Williams will face Australia's Ayla Tomljanovic next month. Last month, the sports legend said she will evolve away from tennis after the U.S. Open. Here at home, the PBA Philippine Cup crown is within reach for the TNT Tropang Giga. Now with a 3-2 finals lead, the defending champion beats the San Miguel Beermen yesterday 102-93 at the Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. TNT could win it all tomorrow in Game 6, also at the Big Dome. And pole vault sensation EJ Obiena rules another meet in Germany, clearing 5.86 meters at the St. Wendell City Jump. The best pole vaulter in Asia has already won a pair of gold medals and a bronze in the second part of his season in Europe. It is the 1st of September, and that means Christmas is in the air here in the Philippines.
Bye, sir. Whenever I see girls.
Social media as they welcome the beginning of the so-called Burr months with viral memes and Christmas albums. On top of that list is none other than Mr. Christmas singer Jose Mari Chan. One meme shows him tuning his guitar. Another meme shows him asleep waiting for his yearly comeback during Yuletide. Another iconic holiday singer is Mariah Carey, whose song is a staple at every Christmas party. This meme shows the two ready to meet the Burr months again. With September 1 signaling the start of the longest Christmas season in the world, one name emerges as the most fitting among Filipinos to be Funko'd. Who else but a pop culture icon whose music and charisma cross generations, Jose Marichan. He joins us later on News.ph. But first, here are two people who were instrumental in producing this very cute Funko Pop. Founder of Funko Fanatic PH, tama ba? Nico Lim, and GMC's daughter, Liza Chan Parpan. Hi, Nico. Welcome to the show. And Liza, welcome back. You're always here. Pero pag Christmas. Pero kumbaga, Christmas na rin, ano?
Here in the Philippines.
Yeah. Okay. Nico, let's begin with you. So, GMC pop culture icon, only the third Filipino to be Funko'd, right?
Yes. So previously we have Manny Pacquiao, and then of course we also have Jokoy.
Pero considered Phil-Am, no?
Yes, yes. So
and his Funko was released in the
only
US.
in the US, yes.
Okay.
So now we have Jose Marichan.
Yeah. And he is the first Filipino entertainer, Filipino musician, Filipino singer.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay. But you do have other Filipino-themed Funkos also, right?
Yes, before. So we had, of course, Jollibee. And then we also had the college mascots, the Blue Eagle and Green Archers. And then Trece from the Trece Comics. Yes.
Okay. All right. And of course, this release of the GMC Funko is because of, and you chose the date, no? September 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
The start of Burman's Christmas, actually, here in the Philippines.
Yeah. And this is a long time coming, di ba? Dapat last year, September 2021.
Yes.
Ano nangyari?
We planned this for last year, September. But due to manufacturing and logistics issues, it was delayed. So they said item would come, I think, November or December na. So I told them, let's just push it to next year.
Right. Oh, so dapat talaga September. But at the same time, in a way, maganda na rin na hindi last September kasi that was the Delta surge, the height of the Delta surge, no?
Yeah, so I guess it was a blessing in disguise. It's a perfect timing now to launch the pop. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's describe him as a Funko. Sige nga.
How about you, Liza?
Well, okay, so when we asked my dad for his input, what he would like, how he would like to be represented in the Funko, I asked him, I said, how do you normally appear on stage? You know, you're normally in a suit and in a tie whenever you perform.
Okay.
So he chose the color of the suit. It's not exactly a black suit. It's like a very, very dark blue, no? And then there's like a yellowish gold tie.
Yeah.
There's a distinguishing mark, which we as his family are very familiar with. It's the mole,
right?
on his forehead.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people
there, right there. Ayan, no? Yeah.
Some of his fans, though, I don't know, they might be surprised. I was watching an unboxing this morning, and the person that was unboxing it was surprised. He never noticed that my dad had a mole.
Okay. Baka because of the makeup. No, natakpan. But also yung tindig niya, no, it's so him. He stands like that with his feet apart, and then he has his hands out like that.
And the microphone.
The microphone in his right hand. And the handkerchief, or what do you call it?
Yes, the pocket square.
The pocket square. Okay. Liza, Nico approached you about this, no? And you're used to a famous father. I mean, you grew up with a famous father. But what were your thoughts of having him immortalized as a Funko Pop doll?
Well, I don't collect toys myself or things in general, no?
Yeah.
So I wasn't familiar really with Funko, but I've known Nico, and I know that Nico has good ideas naman. We've been in business before. And when he approached me with the idea, and I broached it to my dad, we were both sort of like, okay, let's study this a bit. And then Nico showed me examples of other pop icons in the West, like Elvis Presley,
Michael Jackson, and then we also have the Beatles. So
they range. I mean, from like sports figures to entertainment.
Yes.
Personalities. So I showed that to my dad, and then he says, "Are there other Filipinos?" Yes, there's Manny Pacquiao. I've seen Manny Pacquiao when I go around Green Hills. I've seen Manny Pacquiao.
Okay. And he didn't, he had any misgivings or parang, what, me as a doll? Or
I think because it's just a toy. He was like, "Is this a toy like for kids?" I said, "No, it's for serious collectors." Now my brother Joe, you've seen him In-
And he's always on the show when we have Christmas specials.
Yeah, so Joe, is a big Star Wars fan. He goes to toy conventions, comic
Cosplays,
conventions. Yes.
Yeah.
So when I told Joe, I said, "You've heard of Funko, right?" He says, "Yes." So then Joe helped also tell my dad, "No, it's legit. It's don't worry."
So what was he afraid of in one word? Being what? And yung
I don't know if it's trivialized would be the wrong word, but I guess sort of like, this is not, he wasn't sure, like, is this sort of poking fun at me? He wasn't sure, right?
Okay. Because of all the memes then that were coming
Because
out.
of the
lalo
memes.
na in the last few years.
And I think we discussed this on a previous episode with you, right? The memes, when the memes first came out, he was like, he didn't know how to react. So there was one, and there was a very early meme, the one that said na kontrolado ko lahat ng speakers sa mall. When people started showing him that, I think he hadn't even really gotten used to Viber yet, right? When they were spreading through Viber, I showed it to him, and he says, "Lisa, you have to tell people I'm not behind this, huh? Nothing to do with this." I said, "No, it's a meme." "What's a meme?" He didn't understand.
Okay.
So same thing with this. It took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But finally, we showed him enough, evidence to, to show that this would be a good idea. It's going to respect your image, don't worry.
Parang business proposal.
Yes. And
Dumaan sa butas ng karayom. These are available where, Nico, and how much? And can you tell us how many pieces in total so that people will freak out na,
Right.
oh no, there's only how many left?
Yeah, so these are available through Habistack Collectibles branches. It's also available online, Shopee, Lazada, and at Habistack.com.
Okay, of course there are cute questions. Somebody asked me, does it sing? Siyempre hindi. Wala pang ganoon.
Yes, wala pa.
Okay.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. And shouldn't the eyes have been a little bit smaller, yung mga ganon? But you can't do that, right? Because that's the
that's the look of Funko, right?
That's the look of Funko.
Has a set,
certain look, with Funko.
And by the way, yung likod pala niya, yung likod ng box is the album cover.
Yes,
is the album cover.
Yeah.
So he also was like, can we use that? I said, that's why
yours.
you're known, right? So I think it's fine. He did talk about it with Universal, so.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nico Lim and Liza Chan Parpan. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Yeah, for having us.
And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Kini ang simbiyanan sa RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS. DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda. 5,000 watts. Nagsimbiya sa ikatulong andana sa UFCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda.
That time check was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
There is a looming global food crisis, or it's already upon us, helped along in no small measure by pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And the question is not when will it rear its ugly head, but what are we doing to prepare to meet it head on? Food security is, after all, equal to national security, and the Marcos administration seems to understand that, given that the president-elect is handling the agriculture portfolio himself for the time being. Because how do you make sure that food is both accessible and affordable to all so that hunger doesn't turn into anger?
I think that the problem is severe enough that I have decided to take on the portfolio of Secretary of Agriculture, at least for now. And at least until we can reorganize the Department of Agriculture in the way that it will make it ready for the next years to come.
Good evening. I'm I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Our first guest joining us via Zoom is a lecturer from the Ateneo de Manila University Economics Department, Carlo Fermin Adriano. Carlo, good evening, and thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Pia.
Yes, well, let's begin with this.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, so this is do we say that this is a looming food crisis, or is it really already upon us?
It's already upon us. It's already here. And if I can just share my
yes, please
my
do
data.
so. Yes, and you're going to discuss three main points with us now tonight, Carlo, and very
Yes.
quickly, what is the problem, the causes of the problem, and recommendations. So let's begin
Yes.
with what is the problem? Can you define it for us?
So first, we have to separate the short-term problem and the long-term problem. So for the short-term, which is the immediate, there is a global food crisis right now, wherein the food price index of is higher than when you compare it during the 2008 and 2011-12 food crisis. Sorry, but I cannot share my screen.
No, we're going to take care of that. You can go ahead with the points you want to make, and we're going to be showing your PowerPoint.
Yeah, and then if you take a look at meat prices, even all of the agricultural commodities, they're going up, and they're higher than the 2008, 11, 12 years, wherein we have global food crisis during those period. And then the long-term problem is really the underdevelopment of the agriculture, fishery, and forestry sector. And because of this underdevelopment, we have low productivity, and this have two major socio-economic impacts, negative socio-economic impacts. One is the high poverty incidence in the agriculture households, and the other one is soaring domestic food prices.
All right. You're referring to the screen, the particular slide, which is entitled The Underdevelopment of the AFF. AFF meaning, of course, agriculture, forestry, and fishery, contributing to high domestic food prices. And the average share of food and non-alcoholic beverages to inflation is 43% from year 2000 to 2021. And if we look at the years, so year 2000 to 2021, 22 years in the making na ito. So this is not like, it just surprised us now, it just turned the corner and biglang nandyan. This has been going on. This is a problem that has been in the making for more than 2 decades.
Yes, that's correct. Again, 43%, and let me point it out that food and non-alcoholic beverages is just 1 out of the 11 baskets in the computation of inflation. Just take note, only 1, and its contribution is already 43%.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, earlier you were referring to this agriculture, forestry, and fishing sector as growing by only 2.5%. And its contribution to GDP was only 0.3%. Again, within that same time period, 2001 to 2021.
Yes. Basically, if you take a look at the average growth rates of the 3 major sectors, these 3 sectors are the agriculture, industry, and service. For AFF, it only grew by 2.5%. Compare that to industry, which grew by 4.5%, and service at 5.5%. Now, if you take a look at the average GDP growth from given the same period, the economy grew by around 4.8%, and agriculture's contribution to that growth is only 0.3 percentage points. So it's very low.
All right. And then may low productivity pa, no? So serving as a double whammy to agricultural workers, low wages, high poverty incidence, all these factors coming into play. And I just want to let the control know na pakita lang na po natin yung first 4 slides ng PowerPoint presentation ni Dr. Adriano. Anyway, so ito yung problema natin, and food prices expected to increase, no, given this global food crisis. Can you talk more about that?
So basically, the global food crisis is due to external shocks. Number one, COVID-19 pandemic, wherein there were disruption in logistics and trade. But basically, we're recovering from that already. And number two is because of this Ukraine and Russia war. Now, why is this important? Because Russia is the third world's largest oil producer. Russia and Ukraine account for 25% of global wheat export, and wheat is an important ingredient for animal feeds, which we feed for our livestock, poultry, and even our fish. And the third one is that Russia is the world's largest exporter of fertilizers, and we all know when we grow crops, we use fertilizers.
Okay. Of course, sorry. Sorry. Of course, this Russian invasion of Ukraine happened, began in February, but the effects are devastating. However, we are aware of what has been going on even before that. I mean, yung presyo halimbawa no ng what is it, wheat, no?
Yes.
It was going up like 2 years before that. That's because of the pandemic already.
Yes, due to pandemic and actually not just wheat and corn. Corn and wheat are the major inputs for your animal feed. And why did it go up, especially corn? Because basically China bought everything.
Okay.
They stockpiled basically due to the African swine fever, and they wanted to basically counter the effects of ASF, and therefore they need a lot of inputs for their animal feed industry. So they stockpiled.
Okay. And of course, the effects of all of this is that nutritious food is not as affordable and not as accessible for Filipino families in general.
Yes.
Okay. Can we talk about Philippine fertilizer? It's been growing, prices have been growing by almost 100% beginning in 2019. And lately, this has affected the farmers so badly, and therefore, domino effect again. Mataas masyado ang presyo ng fertilizer. Therefore, farmers cannot plant as much as they would like, right?
Yes, basically they cannot use, there will be less application of fertilizer, and we apply less of fertilizer that will have repercussion to our production. Just like, for instance, there's a study of field rice that given the high prices of fertilizer, our rice production is projected to decline by 1 million metric tons for this year. That's 6% of our total production.
All right, 1 million metric tons. Siyempre nakakatakot yung 1 million metric tons, but ano yung effect nun on our dinner tables? No, that means that more families will grow hungry.
Not necessarily. Yes, because of high prices. Basically, if we take a look at economics, the less supply, the higher the prices.
Okay. And sometimes ang nangyayari sa mga poor families, Carl, di ba, kunyari, bibili lang ng 1 kilo, 2 kilo, so baka mas kaunti pa, or bibili ng 1 kilo and then they'll stretch it out for the entire day or 2 days.
Actually, there's a study from PIDS, Philippine Institute of Development Studies, about coping mechanism of farmers due to high prices of food. And one of those, basically, how they cope with high prices, they buy cheaper food. The other is basically, the other repercussion is, like, for instance, they mentioned that hindi nila pinapapasok yung kanilang children to school because they don't have enough money, and they don't have enough money for the allowance of their children. And another thing is, another coping mechanism, which is very sad as well, is yung healthcare nila. Na instead of going to the doctor because masyadong mamahal yung food prices, they just tend to have self-medication na lang. So those have repercussion to basically the what we call human capital development of Filipinos, especially the young Filipinos.
Yeah. There are other causes of this problem, Carl, that you've been pointing out, and they are not very well known, but napakalaking ng epekto nito. Very quickly, talk to us about this rice-centric budget. So, halimbawa, di ba, we have a problem already, baka minus 1 million metric tons na. Tapos, small land size, a hectare per farmer. At saka yung isa pa, yung inadequate attention sa climate resiliency. How is this a cause of the problem?
Okay, number one, basically, if you take a look at the budget of the banner programs of the DA, around 50% of that budget goes to rice. And we have many crops in the agriculture. We have corn, we have high-value crops. There are many high-value crops. We also have livestock and poultry. 50% of the budget already goes to rice. this budget does not include the budget of the National Irrigation Administration, which has a budget of around 45 billion, and 80% of that 45 billion, so around 36 billion, also goes to rice, to provide irrigation for rice farmers. There's also the Rice Competitive Enhancement Fund, minimum of 10 billion pesos, also goes to rice farmers. And if you take also a look at the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, most of their coverage is going to the rice farmers. So we neglected the other non-rice commodities. And therefore, hindi natin na-develop ito. Especially, for instance, yung livestock and poultry natin. And then, if you take a look at the contribution of the agricultural commodities to the AFF growth, ang main contributors natin before the pandemic were the non-crop commodities. It's not rice. We put everything to rice, and if you take a look at the presentation that I gave you, rice ranked last in terms of contribution to AFF growth. So if you just take a look in terms of contribution to AFF growth, we should put our money on the non-crop, which is basically livestock, poultry, and fishery, and not actually rice.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Carl.
And then for the small land size, basically the problem here is because of the relatively low, small land size, which is around 1 hectare only, mababa yung ating productivity because we cannot achieve economies of scale. Like, for instance, yung mga farm mechanization program, you won't be able to use it efficiently if it's only for less than 1 hectare of land. And even yung use of other technologies, if you're only going to use it for less than 1 hectare of land, you won't use it at all. Hindi talaga, walang return on investment. So we have to increase our average land size. And then the other point that you mentioned is the inadequate attention on climate resiliency. Now, the Philippines is considered as one of the most vulnerable to climate change. And to give you an example, ang estimated damages to AFF due to typhoons and calamities is around 25 billion annually. And yet, yung ating Climate Resilient Agriculture Office of the DA has not yet been institutionalized. And if you take a look at our agriculture insurance and even our irrigation system, both will help with mitigating the effects of climate change, are also underdeveloped. And most of them goes to the rice sector as well. So those are one of the problems with the AFF sector.
Okay. Well, Carl, Adriano, as you were discussing already, marami ka ng mga, hints about what recommendations would you make. But very quickly lang, President-elect Marcos has said he's going to be handling the agriculture portfolio. Does that send a good signal? What do you think of that? And is that going to help us handle this food crisis or, take the bull by the horns in so many words?
Yes, it's a good sign because basically he recognizes the importance of the agriculture sector and he recognizes the gravity of the problem that the agriculture sector is facing. Now, for the recommendation, in the short term, basically for 2022, given that we cannot do anything with the budgets, it's already there, we really need to import. Unfortunately, or fortunately for others, we really need to import so that we can manage the food inflation. And we can only do that if we can temporarily reduce the tariff rates of the key agriculture commodities. Second is we can seek bilateral agreements with other countries. Like for example, India, they produce some fertilizer as well. So mag-bilateral agreements na tayo with them. We discuss with them internally. Those are for the short term.
All right. Carl,
yes. Next time.
Yes, the long term for a longer time.
Yes.
Next time. Carl Adriano, many thanks. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Salamat sa'yo. We'll be back after a quick break. Stay tuned.
Para sa sinina nga ka-bloom sa kahumot, suwayi ang Charm Fabric Conditioner.
Charm Fat Con, bangong kumaka-bloom. Charm Fat Con, damit kay may bangon yung sa libong bulaklak.
Charm Fabric Conditioner. Dunay Stay Fresh technology. Sinina nga ka-bloom sa kahumot.
Charm Fat
Fabric Conditioner. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Para sa sakit sa ulo ug hilanat, unsa nga tambal dapat?
Han, para na ako kanang isog.
Langga, para nako kanang luwas magpaayo. Di na kinahanglan mamili. Mag-Biogesic. Parehas ka maayo sa isog pero luwas tumaron. Kana ang alagang Biogesic.
Uy!
Pwede man di parehas. Maayo! Ingat!
Unilab yan.
Paracetamol is the generic name of Biogesic. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Pride Bar. Dili lang puti. Kisla puti.
Pagilabhan sa Pride Bar Blue, ang puting sinina mahimong
Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
sa Pride Bar Blue, pwedeng dili na ko magtina, anyel o bleach. Kay ang Pride Bar Blue, dunay power whitener nga sagumsum sa matag hibla, mao nga sinina, kisla puti ug humok pa sa kamot.
Puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
Pride Bar Blue with power whitener. Dili lang puti, kisla puti.
Pride Bar, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
And your host of Sulit to Win It, Mr. Luis Manzano.
Tanong ng bayan, bakit sulit ang BioFlu? And the top answers are, dahil kaya ang flu, lagnat, sipon, headache, body pain, ubo from postnasal drip.
Ang dami!
Teka, may pahabol pa. Sore throat.
Sulit!
Winner ka sa BioFlu. Sulit dahil kaya all. Babangon ka sa BioFlu. Unilab yan. Phenylephrine HCl chlorpheniramine maleate paracetamol is the generic name of BioFlu. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Sa Pride Anti-Bac Detergent, limpyo ang nilaban, knockout ang bakterya.
Stop ang germs sa Pride with Antibac. Linis ang labada, knockout ang bakterya.
Ang Pride Anti-Bac adunay germ knockout action. Kills 99.9% of germs sa bisti sa pamilya.
Stop ang germs sa Pride with Antibac. Linis ang labada, knockout ang bakterya.
Pride Anti-Bac Detergent. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Protektahi ang imong mga mata batok sa delikado ug makadaot nga ultraviolet nga silaw sa adlaw ug uban pa. Pinaagi sa pagsulob og eksakto nga prescription sa antiyohos o antipara. Likay ang mga simptomas sama sa hanap nga pananaw sa layo o duol nga basahon, sakit sa ulo ug uban pa nga makaapekto sa atong kahimsog nga ang hinungdan depekto sa atong mga mata. Alang sa kumpleto nga primary eye care, contact lenses, fashion eyewear, computer eyeglasses, sunglasses, accessories ug uban pa, adto kita sa AG Buñuel Optical Clinic. Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic nagpahinumdum kanato nga ang kahimsog sa atong mga mata usa ka prioridad nga angay ipa-check up kausa matag tuig aron pagsiguro nga luwas kita sa piligrong mga sakit. Pinaagi sa lisensyado og qualified optometrists nga maoy mo prescribe sa eksaktong kagamitan og kung primary eye care ang paghisgutan. Duaw lang silang buhatan sa 3636 sa Nicolas Street, Surigao City ug adunay ilang extension office sa Aurelianida Street, Cantilan, Surigao del Sur. Ayaw kalimti higala. AG Buñuel Optical Clinic.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic doon na branch dito sa lungsod sa Dapa sa may Lupis Haina Street, Poblasyon Dapa, Surigao del Norte.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic dinhi sa siyudad ng Surigao. No transfer na sa bagong location sa Nicolas Street, Ragyahapon, tapad sa Garcia Hotel at Bang sa Unicity.
Sa panahon ngayon, kau ba'y sigurado? Kau ba'y protektado? Ang pamilya ay i-shield mo.
Laban sa bakterya,
I-shield mo.
labanan pati virus,
I-shield mo.
Shield Bath Soap. Patay ang 99.9% of bacteria and virus tested. Bilib ang mga eksperto sa Philippine Nurses Association.
sa sakit protektado.
I-shield mo.
Pamilya'y protektado.
I-shield mo.
Shield Bath Soap. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated na sa ilang bagong location sa Dalan, Burgos, ning atong syudad. Mahimo niyong tawagan sa telephone number 231-7478 or 826-3663. Mga produkto nga inyong mapalit, genuine, Makita Power Tools sama sa planer, drill, grinder, Triton paints, construction supplies, angle bars, flat bars, GI pipes, automotive spare parts, Firefly electrical devices sama sa switches, bulbs ug outlets. Adto ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated sa ilang bagong pwesto sa Dalan, Burgos ning syudad. Makahangyo ka o makabarato pagyod diha sa Riverside Parts Master Incorporated.
Aniya na ang food supplement nga kumpleto, sakto o aprobado. Ang Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Maayo alang sa pag-maintain sa imong maayong panglawas, kahimsog ug kapiskay sa mga pamati. Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Pakusog sa enerhiya ug stamina, mupalikon sa imong immune system. Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Andam sa pagpakigbatok sa mga nagkadaiyang balatian. Gusulay pa baka sa uban? Diri na kita sa kasaligan. Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Calabo Plus Herbal Capsule. A quality product of Jesser Marketing. Mapalit na karon sa mga butika.
EXL Life and Herbs Nutraceutical.
EXL Makabuhay Plus with Vitamin C Sodium Ascorbate, Vitamin B1, B6, and B12. Ang ligon nga immunity, resistensya, balanse ug tamang nutrisyon, ehersisyo, insaktong katulog ug pagtubar sa EXL Makabuhay Plus. 1 or 2 capsules matag adlaw. Giila kining immune booster, detoxifier, multi-herb nga kapsula. Makahatag kini og taas nga kinabuhi, kabasko, kaabtig sa panghuna-huna ug kalawasan nga layo sa balatian. EXL Makabuhay Plus dinihukan sa gahom sa Ginoo, gihiusa ug gipakusgan sa nag-inusara ug milagrosong kapsula. EXL Makabuhay Plus, proteksyon at depensa sa anumang karamdaman, kasangga nagpawat pamilya.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
That news was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
We are not setting aside the military component of national security, the ones which we are used to talking about, But I think we should bring it nearer to the individual because at bottom, national security is your security as an individual. These are all the things that affect the daily acts of living. Hindi ba yun ang katiwasayan ng kalooban mo? Of course, matiwasay ang kalooban mo na walang gera mangyayari dyan sa contested South China Sea. But this is so distant from your day-to-day life. I'm not saying it's not important, but what is most important is your life, everyday life. And that is the component of human security.
Well, as Clarita Carlos was saying, your life, your everyday life, and she is talking about food security. Let's continue this discussion of the looming, well, as Carla Adriano was saying, it's not a looming food crisis. It is here with us now with our second guest, agricultural economist Roel Briones. Hi, Roel. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. So it is, you agree with that, no? It is the food crisis is already upon us. Hindi ito looming crisis. It's here.
Yes, good evening, Pia. Of course, it is already here, and we're already feeling it. In fact, aside from all of these developments in Ukraine, even from last 2 years, the meat supply of the country has suffered dramatic loss from another source, the African swine fever, which Professor Carl Adriano already mentioned.
Okay, so you would say, how would you, Roel, define the problem? Can we take the bull by the horns and define? Can you define it for us?
Of course, this is basically the problem of a poor country, right? So in the final analysis, the country suffers from perennial shocks to its food security because it is poor. If you look at a country like Singapore, with almost no local production, but because of its wealth and its income, it is rated by the Economist Intelligence Unit as the most food secure country in the world. So in the long run, the solution to this is to have, for the average Filipino, to have sufficient purchasing power that despite these swings in food prices, somehow kakayanin ang budget. Now, we're not yet in that position, but we can certainly put in some measures that will move us towards a more resilient kind of food consumption track.
And what are these measures?
Una-una yung food supply, no? So Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Is now sitting, will soon sit as Secretary of Agriculture, which is a very salutary development. I agree with most analysts about that. But remember, his father presided during his term over a green revolution that coincided with the rollout of a green revolution in rice. That was really a revolution that really made staved off all of these predictions of massive famine in the developing world, third world at the time, no? So we need something similar to that again, no, so that we can revitalize our food supplies through application of better science and technology.
That would be your recommendation already, Ruel? Or
Yes,
are there more?
that is it. No, because the problem is we are kind of fixated with short-term solutions. That's fine, except now, unlike before, we have a much narrower fiscal space. A lot of these short-term solutions, they're very costly. Frankly speaking, no, a very subsidized price of rice, depending on the degree of subsidy and how you're administering it, could blow a hole through your budget in the order of, say, 200 plus billion, no? Depending, which we can hardly afford now. But what we can certainly afford is like boosting R&D in our agricultural sector, especially those with promising income-generating opportunities for our farmers, because ironically, our food producers are the ones who are bearing the brunt of this food insecurity. Now, of course, we tend to be distracted by the need for very short-term solutions, no? But the fact of the matter is we have postponed too long the need to undertake long-term solutions. The sooner we can do it, the better, and we'll be in a better position to face the next crisis, because it will come.
Okay, no question about that. Ruel, we've heard so many success stories of small farmer groups, small farmers, no, and kung ano yung mga best practices. What is it about us? Why can't we just get things together, get our act together, and really solve this once and for all? It's sad, no, like you say, this is a problem of a poor country. But we know that if we can get our act together, that we can really handle this, hindi ba?
I think one of the big problems is we have attributed much of the problem to a mistaken villain. So many of the actors think that market forces are at the root of the problem, when in fact it's not. No, market forces are actually one of the solutions out of the problem. So for instance, there's a market force that will tend towards, after decades of social justice, which I acknowledge, in terms of breaking up the large estates characterizing our countryside before. So this goes to the problem mentioned by Professor Adriano, no? But we have gone a little bit too far in terms of fragmenting, because of the combination of the land reform program plus population growth. And yet the land reform program is also freezing our land markets and making them too rigid, so that we don't allow for consolidation of land holdings. So we should unleash the power of market forces in that regard, no? Of course, within limits. So we don't need to, say, go back to 1,000 hectare, 10,000 hectare haciendas. We could maybe raise it to, say, 20 hectares, allow more higher land ceiling than the very, very restrictive one of, say, 5 hectares. So this is the kind of solution we're referring to. Another market force that we can deploy is access to world markets. So even though all of these world market developments are forcing up world prices that we've already discussed, the major culprit for the high prices of imports is actually government. Government is the one imposing 40-50% tax that dwarfs any spike in world markets that we're seeing. So it's difficult, kind of hypocritical to complain about how unreliable world markets are, when it is our own governance which is forcing us to pay higher prices for these stuff.
Shooting ourselves in the foot, what's going to happen if we don't do all this? If we don't resolve this now, if we don't plan way in advance, what's going to happen? People are going to go hungry, right?
Well, whenever there's a crisis, yes, of course. Now, of course, the crisis will pass. Then we think, okay, maybe the problem will solve itself. And then we'll wait for the next one. We'll just muddle along as usual. So I think with the new decisive mandate, the new government might be able to make a turnaround.
All right, ayusin na natin ito. Roel Briones, agricultural economist. Roel, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We'll be back after a quick break. This is Politics as Usual.
Ang buhay ay masaya pag ang hugasin ay easy, lalo na sa masebong kaldero at kawali.
Kaya mag-Smart Dishwashing Paste, pang heavy-duty hugasin.
Ang galing, galing, galing.
Smart!
Yan ang Smart Dishwashing.
May double tanggaling formula, tanggal galingan sebo at bakterya. Kaya ang Smart #1 Dishwashing Paste.
Ang galing, galing, galing.
Smart!
Yan ang Smart Dishwashing.
Smart Dishwashing Paste, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing. ISO certified, world-class quality.
Maayong balita sa tanan sa atong panginahanglan sa panimalay, mga gamit, ingon man mga dekorasyon, pwede na natong mapalit diha sa Wellington Bazaar. Anausab sa Wellington Bazaar ang mga bestidahon, karsunison, plain t-shirt, plastic chair, floor mat, mantel, banig, folding bed, habol, mosketero, trapal, liderette, basketball, stuffed toys ug mga dulaan sa bata. Ang Wellington Bazaar ana magalagad kanato sa Dalan Kaymo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Wellington Bazaar, gikan sa mga kawani ug tigdumala sa Wellington Bazaar. Mayong adlaw alang kaninyo. Wellington Bazaar, sukion ta sa kanunay.
Madaling masira ang ngipin ng pamilya, ngayon pa lang.
Unique toothpaste for brushing every after kumain.
Dahil ang unique toothpaste, may Max Protect formula.
Ngipin ay Max Alaga, Max Protektado pa.
Helps stop cavities even before they start, while keeping breath fresh with regular use.
Unique toothpaste for brushing para siguraduhin ngipin ay Max Alaga, Max Protektado pa. Unique
Max Alaga, Max Protectado with unique toothpaste maximum fluoride protection. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing. ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
Uy, Day! Naunsa man ka, Day?
Day, kanang glisod na mga kakita, Day. Uy!
Sus, naunsa ba ka? Uy nga, katong ni aging bulan. Okay pa man ka. Naunsa di karon?
Laot siguro ni si unit aning cellphone kanang si computer, Day.
Da, mo lagi na akong ingon ba? Uy, Day, nakoy balita para sa imuha. Gamit og Lutein Plus, uy.
Lutein Plus?
Oh, tungod ang Lutein Plus, Day, duna kini 13 ka ingredients. Hindi lang kini para sa mata, kundi sa imuhang tibuok lawas. Nga maka-assist pod sa imuhang anxiety ug depression.
Ang Lutein Plus usa ka award-winning brand nga gikan pa sa New Zealand.
The award-winning supplements from Clean Green New Zealand Omega Plus support sa heart and blood system. Ang Lutein Plus ay 13 ka mga ingredients lakip ng vitamins A and C. Dili lamang kung maradyaw sa atong pananaw, nagsuporta sa bini sa ato intirulawas ning panahon nga jara kita kuman sa COVID-19 pandemic. Kinahanglan magpabilin kitang himsog inom sa Lutein Plus, Omega Plus and Primrose Plus Soft Gel. Inintanan available dia sa New Family Drug, Palma Drug sa Aquarian Pharmacy.
Boom, papaya, white rose papaya, yeah, yeah, yeah. Boom, puti ka in 7 days, oh yeah, 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 yeah. White rose papaya.
New White Rose Papaya na ay double whitening sa papaya extracts with vitamin B3. Clinically proven yung makaputi in as early as 7 days with regular use.
Boom, puti ka, white rose papaya, yeah, 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 yeah.
Papaya puti, papaya fast. White Rose Papaya with vitamin B3. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Pagdalaga o gulitaw na gani, kinahanglan limpyo ug hamis kanunay ang kutis. Gamit og Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap, pampahamis, pampaputi ug pampabata sa panit. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Mao kini ang tubag alang sa mga teenager nga gusto makaangkon og nindot nga kutis. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Ang sikreto sa mga gwapa o gwapo. Karisma Kojic Soap. Mapalit sa inyong mga suking butika.
Mga Surigaonon, ana-anay maayong lugar na adtuan ang Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop nga nahimutang sa Dalan Borromeo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Anaa kanila ang barato na mga gamit para sa pagpagwapa sa inyong banyo, kusina o tibuok balay. Nagtanyag sila sa mga packages, sa faucet, wash basin ug toilet bowl with complete fittings na swak sa inyong budget. Sa Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop, daghan kay kapilian, mga bag-ong mga designs ug dekalidad ang mga produkto. Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop, Borromeo Street, Surigao City. Owned and managed by Earl Brian Palma. Contact number 0945-3060-648.
이제 달려야지 뭘 어떡해 난 철이 없어 겁 없어 man
Kay grasya sa Dios nga mahanan ug madagayaon gikan sa tinubdan alang sa baskog ug himsog nga kalawasan. Sinatia ang himsog nga kinabuhi ug hapsayng panginabuhi uban sa EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule. Buhay ay makulay basta't kasama ang EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule para sa masiglang buhay at masaganang hanap buhay. Mag-EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule. EXL Life and Herbs Nutraceutical. Health and wellness for God's glory.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy nakaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
That news was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
We're still with politics as usual. Your weekly political appointment fix anti-antivirus. We are on our final stretch. Joining me now is the officer in charge of the Nutrition Surveillance Division of the National Nutrition Council, Ellen Ruth Abella. We're talking about nutrition because when people are hungry, nutrition flies out the window. Ellen, thank you very much for being with us. Let's talk first pre-food crisis. No, how badly nourished are Filipino children? What are the numbers?
I think not only we have a food crisis, but we are already facing a nutrition crisis. For the past 10 years, our stunting figures have always been at the 30%, which is considered as a high public health problem.
When you say stunting figures, you mean?
We have 30%, more than about 30% of our children under 5 are stunted. So when we talk about stunting, we're talking about chronic malnutrition, meaning these children are not getting enough nutritious food or eating enough nutritious food for them to grow properly.
Yeah,
yes.
Sorry, Ellen. Merong malnutrition, merong undernutrition, right?
Yes. Malnutrition can be undernutrition, which is it's either low height, stunted, or children are have low height. Below their ages or for their ages, we have low weight. And we are also talking about overnutrition. So those are forms of malnutrition.
Okay.
So we are talking about the double burden of malnutrition here.
Of course, when we talk about these numbers and these definitions, it's easier for us to explain it this way, no? Kapag kumukulo ang tiyan ng anak nyo, napakasakit yon, right? And mas masakit para sa mga may hirap na pamilya because they're not able to buy food the way the rest of the population can, right?
Yes, exactly. And if this persists, we're not just talking about stunted children in terms of height. We're talking about stunted children in terms of brain development. So if this persists further, we are looking at a very dismal future for our children and also our country. So I think not only we need to address the food crisis, but we also need to address nutrition crisis. So as our 4 other speakers are talking about, we need to prevent our people, our population from getting hungry. Hungry enough that they really cannot afford to buy food. They go to sleep hungry. They worry about where they will be getting their food for the next day. Those experiences. So it's a very dismal future for the Philippines if we do not address this food crisis, and also for our countrymen to be able to buy nutritious food.
You've answered already my next question, because I was going to say, if we don't handle this food crisis, well, and as you also say, this nutrition crisis, well, what's going to happen now? How much more badly will children be affected? So can you give us a ballpark figure? Sabi mo kanina, stunting figures 30%. Kung hindi natin ma-handle ito properly, yung 30% magiging ano? And then the corollary question is, if we're able to handle it well, as Carl, Adriano, and Ruel Briones were saying earlier, if we handle it well, what kind of an impact will we see?
First, if we cannot address the 30%, we cannot decrease the 30% that we have now, we're looking at more than 3.2 million children who will be underdeveloped in terms of brain development, so we do not produce productive citizens in the future. But if we are able to address this early on, provide the necessary nutrition intervention at the first 2 years of a child's life, then we are looking at a better future for our children, so they are able to go to school. They will be more competitive in the school. When they become adults, they will also be competitive at work, and then will be very productive when they have better job opportunities for them to have better jobs, better incomes.
Thank you so much for joining us, Ellen Ruth Abella of the National Nutrition Council. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Ellen. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk warfare, digital and otherwise. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show. Your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.
Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda, DXKS Surigao, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
RPN regional AM radio stations nationwide welcome